You're fired. Elena Morgan's voice cut through the ballroom like a blade. 300 guests froze. Champagne glasses stopped midair. The jazz band went silent. Daniel Carter, her ex-husband, the newly crowned vice president, stared at her from the stage, his face draining of color. "You can't do that," he whispered into the microphone. "You don't work here." Elena smiled, the kind of smile that makes men nervous. "I don't work here, Daniel. I own here. Every contract you've ever signed. Every promotion your mistress approved while sharing your bed. Every single brick of the success you built on my family's name." She paused. "Now get out of my building." What satisfying happened? Satisfying next, satisfying left, satisfying everyone, satisfying speechless. Drop your city in the comments. Let's see how far this story travels. You're fired. The words left Elena's mouth before she could stop them, before she could think, before the rational part of her brain could remind her that she'd planned to be strategic, careful, professional. But then she'd seen Daniel's face on that stage. She'd heard him say the word integrity. She'd watched Sophia Lane blow him a kiss from the front row. And something inside her snapped. The ballroom went dead silent. 300 people in black tie holding champagne glasses worth more than most people's car payments staring at her like she'd just pulled a gun. Daniel laughed. A nervous, confused sound that echoed through the microphone. "Excuse me." Elena walked toward the stage. Her heels clicked against the marble. Each step deliberate. Each step closer to the man who'd destroyed her. "I said you're fired. Effective immediately. Security will escort you out." Daniel's laugh died. He looked at the MC, then at the crowd, then back at Elena. "Who the hell do you think you are?" "I'm Elena Morgan." She stopped at the base of the stage looking up at him. "Richard Morgan's daughter, the woman you left while she was 7 months pregnant, and as of 3 weeks ago, the owner of Hartwell Industries." The gasp that went through the room was audible. Phones came out. Someone dropped a glass. It shattered against the marble, but nobody looked. Sophia pushed through the crowd, her red dress catching the light. "Daniel, what is she talking about?" "I don't know." Daniel's voice cracked. "She's crazy. She's always been crazy. Elena, I don't know what you think you're doing, but—" "What I'm doing," Elena said, "is telling 300 people the truth." She turned to face the crowd. Found the board members near the front. Found the executives who'd shaken Daniel's hand an hour ago. Found the young employees in the back who were already recording on their phones. "My name is Elena Morgan. Most of you don't recognize me. The last time you saw me, I was pregnant standing next to Daniel at the company picnic, smiling like I believed in him." She paused. "I did believe in him. I believed him when he said he was working late. I believed him when he said his business trips were necessary. I believed him when he came home smelling like perfume and told me it was from a client." Daniel's face went white. "Elena, stop." "I believed him," she continued, "when he told me I was being paranoid, when he said I was hormonal, when he said pregnancy was making me irrational and jealous and crazy." Sophia's eyes darted toward the exit. "I believed him right up until the night I miscarried our second child. I was bleeding on the bathroom floor calling his phone over and over. 23 calls. I counted them later." The room was so quiet, Elena could hear her own heartbeat. "He didn't answer, not once, because he was in bed with her." She pointed at Sophia. Every head in the room turned. Sophia's face crumpled. She took a step back, her heel catching on someone's foot. "That's not I didn't." "You did." Elena's voice was flat, calm, terrifying. "You approved his promotion while sleeping with him. You falsified expense reports to fund your trips together. You lied on official HR documents to cover your relationship." "Those are serious accusations," someone called from the crowd. A man in an expensive suit, one of the board members. "They're not accusations." Elena pulled a folder from her clutch. They're facts, documented, verified, ready for legal review. She threw the folder onto the stage at Daniel's feet. Papers scattered, hotel receipts, credit card statements, screenshots of text messages, photos from a trip to Miami that Elena had thought was a sales conference. Daniel stared at the evidence like it might bite him. "Pick it up," Elena said. "Go ahead. Show everyone what kind of leader you are." He didn't move. "No." Elena climbed the stairs to the stage. The MC backed away, hands raised like he wanted no part of this. "Then let me help." She picked up one of the receipts, held it up to the light. The Setai Miami, $2,000 a night, December 23rd through 26th. 2 guests, a couple's massage, champagne service. She looked at Daniel. "That was Christmas, Daniel, while I was in labor, while I was giving birth to your daughter alone because you told me you were stuck at a conference in Denver." Someone in the crowd said, "Oh my God." "You weren't in Denver." Elena dropped the receipt. "You were on a beach with your girlfriend drinking champagne while I screamed your name in a delivery room." Daniel finally found his voice. "Elena, I can explain." "Can you?" She stepped closer to him. "Can you explain why you didn't answer when the hospital called? Can you explain why your daughter was 6 hours old before you even knew she existed? Can you explain why you told me on Christmas morning while I was holding our newborn that you wanted a divorce?" The crowd was murmuring now, shocked whispers spreading like wildfire. Sophia tried to slip toward the exit. She made it 3 steps before 2 security guards appeared at her sides. "Going somewhere," Elena called out. Sophia stopped. Her face was streaked with mascara. "Elena, please, I didn't mean for any of this to happen." "You didn't mean for it to happen." Elena laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You didn't mean to sleep with my husband. You didn't mean to approve his promotions. You didn't mean to fly to Miami on company money while I was delivering his child." "I love him," Sophia's voice cracked. "I know that sounds terrible, but I love him. We love each other. Sometimes people just what?" Elena descended from the stage, walking toward Sophia. "Sometimes people just betray the women who trust them. Sometimes people just destroy families because they're bored." She stopped 2 feet from Sophia. "Let me tell you what sometimes people just looks like from my side. Sometimes people just bleed out on a bathroom floor while their husband ignores their calls. Sometimes people just give birth alone and tell the nurses their husband is traveling for work because the truth is too humiliating. Sometimes people just sign divorce papers while their stitches are still healing." Sophia was crying now, real tears streaming down her face. Elena felt nothing. "You wanted him." She gestured toward Daniel, still frozen on the stage. "You can have him, but not here. Not in my company. Not in the building my father built." She turned to the security guards. "Escort Ms. Lane from the premises. Her access is revoked. Her employment is terminated. She has 30 minutes to collect her personal belongings under supervision." The guards took Sophia's arms. She didn't fight. She just cried, mumbling something about love, about mistakes, about how this wasn't fair. Elena watched her go. Then she turned back to Daniel. He was still standing on the stage, the folder of evidence scattered at his feet, his face a mask of shock and dawning horror. "Daniel!" He looked at her. "Come down here." For a moment she thought he might refuse, might try to salvage some dignity, some authority, some scrap of the power he thought he had. But then his shoulders sagged, his head dropped, and he walked down the stairs like a man walking to his execution. He stopped in front of her. Up close, Elena could see the fear in his eyes, the desperation, the wheels turning as he tried to figure out how to spin this, how to save himself, how to turn her into the villain. "Elena." His voice was soft, pleading. "Can we talk about this privately?" "No." "Please. I know I made mistakes. I know I hurt you. But this destroying my career, humiliating me in front of everyone, this isn't you. The Elena I married wouldn't. The Elena you married is dead." He flinched. She died the night you walked out. She died on that bathroom floor. She died in that delivery room screaming for a husband who was drinking champagne with his mistress. Elena stepped closer. The woman standing in front of you? She's someone new. Someone you don't know. Someone you should be very, very afraid of. Daniel swallowed hard. What do you want? Money, the house, full custody. I'll give you whatever you want. Just please don't do this. You don't have anything I want. Elena shook her head slowly. You never did. I just didn't know it until you left. She turned to address the crowd again. I want to apologize for the disruption tonight. This wasn't how I planned to introduce myself as your new CEO. But some things can't wait. Some truths need to be told, no matter how uncomfortable. The board members were staring at her with a mixture of shock, and was that respect? My father built this company on a foundation of integrity. Real integrity. Not the word Daniel just used in his speech, but the actual thing. Honesty, accountability, doing the right thing even when it's hard. She paused. What Daniel and Sophia did violated every principle this company stands for. They lied. They cheated. They used company resources for personal benefit. And they did it while pretending to be leaders worth following. Daniel made a sound, a small broken noise. I don't take pleasure in this. Elena's voice softened slightly. I didn't want to be CEO. I didn't want to inherit my father's company. I wanted to be a wife and mother. I wanted the life Daniel promised me. She looked at him. But you took that choice away from me. And now I'm making a different choice. I'm choosing to lead this company the way my father would have wanted. I'm choosing to build something real, something honest, something worth believing in. She turned back to the crowd. Starting tonight, starting now, with the removal of 2 employees who should never have been trusted with the positions they held. She nodded at the security guards. Mr. Carter, you are terminated for gross ethical violations, conflict of interest, and fraudulent expense reporting. Please surrender your company ID and any equipment. You have 30 minutes to collect your personal belongings under escort. Daniel didn't move. Did you hear me? I heard you. His voice was hollow. I just can't believe this is happening. Believe it. The security guards approached. Daniel looked at them, then at Elena, then at the crowd of people who'd been celebrating him an hour ago. Elena. One last attempt. I know you hate me. I deserve it. But please think about Lily. Think about our daughter. If you destroy me like this, what will she think when she grows up? What will you tell her about her father? Elena felt something twist in her chest. The first real emotion she'd allowed herself to feel since walking into this ballroom. I'll tell her the truth, she said quietly. I'll tell her that her father made terrible choices. I'll tell her that he hurt people who loved him. And I'll tell her that sometimes the people we trust the most let us down the hardest. She paused. But I'll also tell her that his choices don't define her, that she can be better than him, that she can learn from his mistakes instead of repeating them. Daniel's eyes filled with tears. And I'll tell her that I loved him once, really loved him, and that sometimes love isn't enough to save people from themselves. The security guards took Daniel's arms. He didn't fight, didn't argue, just let them lead him toward the exit. His head bowed, his designer suit suddenly looking cheap and hollow. At the door, he stopped. Elena. She looked at him. I'm sorry. 2 words, barely a whisper, but she heard them. I know, she said. So am I. The doors closed behind him. The ballroom was silent for a long moment. 300 people processing what they'd just witnessed. 300 phones recording. 300 minds reshaping their understanding of the man they'd just celebrated. Then someone started clapping. Slow at first. A single pair of hands near the back of the room. Elena looked toward the sound. An older woman in a silver dress, Margaret Chen, board of directors, her father's oldest friend. Another person joined, then another, then a dozen, then 50, then the entire room erupted in applause. Not polite applause, not obligatory applause. Real, thunderous standing ovation applause. People were crying. Women who'd suspected something was wrong but never had proof. Men who'd felt uncomfortable around Daniel but couldn't articulate why. Young employees who'd whispered about favoritism and inappropriate relationships but never dared speak up. Elena had given them permission to believe what they already knew. She'd told the truth, and for the first time in months, she felt something other than grief. She felt powerful. The applause continued as she walked to the center of the stage. She raised her hand, and slowly the room quieted. "Thank you," she said. "I know tonight didn't go the way anyone expected, including me." A few nervous laughs. "But I want you to know something. This company, my father's company, our company is going to be okay. Better than okay. Because we're going to build it on truth, on accountability, on doing the right thing, even when it costs us." She looked out at the faces staring back at her. "I don't have all the answers. I'm new to this. 3 months ago, I was painting a nursery and planning a baby shower, not running a billion-dollar corporation. But I'm a fast learner, and I have something Daniel never had." She paused. "I have nothing left to lose." The room was silent. When you've lost your marriage, your second child, your father, and your faith in the people you trusted most, there's a strange kind of freedom in it. You stop caring about what people think. You stop trying to be polite. You stop pretending everything is fine when it isn't. She smiled slightly. "I'm not going to pretend with any of you. This company has problems, ethical problems, structural problems, problems that go deeper than one man and his mistress. And I'm going to fix them. All of them." Margaret Chen nodded slowly from the front row. "But I can't do it alone. I need people I can trust. People who believe in doing the right thing. People who aren't afraid to speak up when they see something wrong." Elena looked around the room. "If you're one of those people, I want you on my team. If you're not, if you're the kind of person who looks the other way, who protects liars, who values power over integrity, then you should probably start updating your resume." A few uncomfortable shifts in the crowd. "Because I'm not my father. He was patient, forgiving. He gave people second chances, maybe too many second chances." She thought of Daniel, of all the warnings she'd ignored. "I'm not going to make that mistake. You get one chance with me. One. Use it wisely." She stepped back from the microphone. "Now, I believe there was a party happening before I interrupted. The champagne is still flowing. The music is still playing. And despite everything that just happened, we still have things worth celebrating." She raised an imaginary glass. "To new beginnings, to hard truths, and to the future of Hartwell Industries, whatever that looks like." She walked off the stage. The crowd parted for her like the Red Sea. People reached out to shake her hand, to pat her shoulder, to whisper words of support. She accepted them all with nods and small smiles, but she didn't stop moving. She needed air. She needed space. She needed to be somewhere that didn't smell like champagne and betrayal. The balcony was empty when she pushed through the doors. The night air hit her like a wave, cold, clean, real. She walked to the railing and gripped it hard, her knuckles turning white. Behind her, she could hear the party resuming, the band starting up again, the murmur of conversation probably all about her. Let them talk. She'd spent 5 months being silent, being polite, being the good ex-wife who didn't make scenes, who didn't air dirty laundry, who smiled at mutual friends and said things like, "We just grew apart," and "I wish him the best." Tonight she'd told the truth, and it felt like the first honest breath she'd taken since Daniel walked out. Her phone buzzed, a text from her sister. "Everything okay? Lily's asleep. Saw something online about your company." Elena typed back, "Everything's fine. Better than fine. Kiss Lily for me. She put the phone away and looked out at the city lights. Her city. Her father's city. The skyline he'd helped build one deal at a time. "Dad?" she whispered to the empty air. "I hope I made you proud." The wind picked up, rustling her hair. Somewhere in the distance a siren wailed, and Elena Morgan stood alone on the balcony, the new CEO of an empire she'd never wanted, wondering what came next. The balcony door opened behind her. Elena didn't turn around. She knew that footstep, that hesitation, that particular way of breathing before speaking. "You always did like high places." Margaret Chen's voice was soft, warm, the same voice that had read Elena bedtime stories when her father worked late, back when Elena was small, and Margaret was more aunt than board member. "I needed air," Elena said. "I imagine you did." Margaret walked to stand beside her at the railing. "That was quite a performance in there." "It wasn't a performance." "No," Margaret nodded slowly. "I suppose it wasn't. That's what made it so powerful." They stood in silence for a moment. The city hummed below them. Traffic lights changed. Somewhere a horn honked. "Did I make a mistake?" Elena asked quietly. "Firing Daniel. Doing it like that, in front of everyone. My father would have handled it privately, legally, quietly." Margaret laughed softly. "Your father would have done exactly what you did. He just would have felt guilty about it afterward." Elena turned to look at her. "Richard was a good man," Margaret continued. "One of the best I've ever known. But he wasn't a saint. When someone betrayed him, when someone hurt the people he loved, he could be ruthless." She paused. "Where do you think you got it from?" Elena hadn't thought about it that way. "The board is impressed," Margaret said. Shocked, obviously, but impressed. "We've suspected something was wrong with Daniel's promotions for months. The numbers didn't add up. His expense reports were sloppy, but we couldn't prove anything. Now you can. Now we can." Margaret reached into her clutch and pulled out a business card. "This is my personal number, not the one I give to everyone, the real one. Call me anytime, day or night, whatever you need." Elena took the card. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. The next few weeks are going to be hell. Legal is already preparing for Daniel to sue. The press will want statements. Shareholders will have questions. And half the executives in that ballroom are wondering if they're next." "Should they be?" Margaret smiled. "That's up to you. You're the CEO now." The words hit Elena like a wave. CEO. She was the CEO of a billion-dollar company. A company she'd never worked for. A company she'd barely understood until 3 weeks ago. "I don't know what I'm doing," Elena admitted. "Nobody does. Not really. We're all just making it up as we go along and hoping nobody notices." Margaret put a hand on Elena's shoulder. "But you have something most CEOs don't have." "What's that?" "Nothing left to prove. No ego to protect. No reputation to maintain." Margaret's eyes were serious. "You can do the right thing because it's right, not because it's strategic. That's rare in business. Rarer than you'd think." Elena's phone buzzed again. She glanced at the screen. 17 missed calls, 43 text messages. Her inbox was exploding. "It's starting," Margaret said, glancing at the phone. "The media, the lawyers, the circus." "I know." "Are you ready?" Elena looked out at the city one more time. The lights, the buildings, the life happening in a million windows she'd never see inside. "No," she said. "But I don't think ready was ever an option." She walked back inside. The party had transformed. What had been a celebration of Daniel's success was now something else entirely. Clusters of people huddled together, whispering, glancing at Elena as she passed. Some looked away quickly. Others nodded with something like respect. A young woman intercepted her near the bar. Early 20s. Nervous. Clutching a drink like a lifeline. "Ms. Morgan." Elena stopped. "Yes. I'm sorry to bother you. I know tonight has been a lot." But I just wanted to say thank you. For what? The woman hesitated. I work in Daniel's department. Worked. I guess I still do technically, but I wanted to tell you that you're not the only one he... She trailed off, her cheeks flushing. Elena's stomach tightened. He harassed you. Not exactly. Nothing I could prove, but comments, looks, standing too close in the elevator, the way he'd touch my shoulder during meetings. She shuddered slightly. I reported it once, to HR, to Sophia. And she said I was misinterpreting friendly behavior. Said Daniel was just warm and personable. Said I should be grateful to work for someone so supportive. Elena felt her hands curl into fists. What's your name? Jessica. Jessica Park. Jessica, I want you to do something for me. Tomorrow morning, first thing, I want you to write down everything Daniel ever said or did that made you uncomfortable. Dates, if you can remember them. Witnesses, if there were any. And I want you to email it directly to me. Jessica's eyes widened. You want me to? I want every woman in this company who has a story like yours to tell it. Anonymously, if they prefer. But I want to know. I want to know exactly how deep this goes. You believe me? The question broke Elena's heart. Why wouldn't I believe you? Jessica's eyes filled with tears. Sophia didn't. When I reported it, she made me feel like I was crazy, like I was making things up, like I should be grateful Daniel even noticed me. Elena reached out and took Jessica's hand. Listen to me. You are not crazy. You are not making things up. And you don't owe gratitude to anyone who makes you feel unsafe. Do you understand? Jessica nodded, wiping her eyes. Good. Now go home. Get some rest. Tomorrow's going to be a long day for all of us. Jessica squeezed her hand and disappeared into the crowd. Elena watched her go, a new kind of anger building in her chest. Not the hot explosive anger she'd felt on stage. Something colder, harder, more deliberate. Daniel hadn't just cheated on her. He'd built a kingdom on abuse, on intimidation, on making women feel small and crazy and grateful, and Sophia had helped him. Ms. Morgan. Another voice, another person needing something from her. Elena turned. A man in a gray suit, late 50s, silver hair, eyes that had seen everything and trusted nothing. I'm William Hartwell, he said. Head of legal. We need to talk. Now. Daniel's lawyer called 10 minutes ago. He's threatening to sue for wrongful termination, defamation, and emotional distress. Elena laughed. She couldn't help it. Emotional distress. He's claiming emotional distress. He's claiming you ambushed him at a public event with false accusations designed to humiliate him and destroy his career. The accusations aren't false. I know. I've seen the folder you threw at him. But knowing and proving are different things in a courtroom. Elena's jaw tightened. What do you recommend? A meeting. Tomorrow. My office, 9 a.m. I'll have the full legal team there. We'll go through everything document by document. Build a case that can withstand whatever he throws at us. And if he sues? William smiled slightly. It was not a pleasant smile. Then we counter-sue. For fraud. For theft of company resources. For breach of fiduciary duty. For every dollar he spent on Sophia that should have gone to the company. He paused. By the time we're done, he won't have enough money left to buy a cup of coffee. Elena studied the lawyer. You seem very confident. I've been waiting 5 years for someone to let me take Daniel Carter apart. Your father always pulled back. Said it wasn't worth the publicity. Said we should handle things quietly. William's eyes hardened. I disagreed. Why didn't you say something? Because your father was the boss. And the boss's word was final. He looked at her steadily. But you're the boss now, and I have a feeling you're not going to pull back. No, Elena said. I'm not. Good. Then I'll see you tomorrow, 9 a.m. Don't be late. He walked away, already on his phone, already mobilizing the legal team. Elena looked around the ballroom. The party was still happening technically. People were still drinking, still talking, still pretending this was a normal corporate event. But the energy had shifted. The celebration was over. Something else had begun. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered anyway. Elena Morgan. Elena. Daniel's voice. Broken. Desperate. Please don't hang up. She should hang up. Every rational part of her brain screamed to end the call, block the number, never speak to him again. But something made her stay on the line. You have 30 seconds, she said. I know you hate me. You should hate me. Everything you said up there was true. Every word. His voice cracked. But I need you to understand something. You don't get to explain. Please, just listen. Then you can hang up. Then you can destroy me. But please just listen. Elena closed her eyes. The noise of the party faded. The champagne glasses, the whispered conversations, the click of heels on marble, all of it fell away until it was just her and Daniel's voice in her ear. Talk, she said. I don't know when I became this person. That's not an excuse. It's just, I look back at who I was when we got married, and I don't recognize him. That guy loved you, really loved you. He would have done anything for you. And then I got promoted. And then I got promoted again. And suddenly I was somebody. People respected me. People wanted to be around me. And you were at home pregnant wanting to talk about nursery colors, and I felt trapped. Elena's hand tightened on the phone. You felt trapped. I know how that sounds. I know. But Elena, you were so happy, so content with just being a mother, and I wanted more. I wanted to matter. I wanted to be important. So you found someone who made you feel important. Sophia made me feel powerful. She looked at me like I was someone special, and I know that's pathetic. I know that's weak. But when you're in it, when you're making those choices, you convince yourself it's justified. You tell yourself lies until you believe them. What lies? That you were holding me back, that you didn't understand me, that we'd grown apart, and it wasn't anyone's fault. He paused. That I deserved to be happy. And now I'm standing in a parking garage watching security pack my personal items into a cardboard box, and I realize I threw away the only person who ever loved me for real. His voice broke completely. I'm so sorry, Elena. I'm so goddamn sorry. Elena opened her eyes. She looked out at the ballroom, at the people pretending not to watch her, at the banner still hanging above the stage. Congratulations, Vice President Daniel Carter, that nobody had thought to take down. Do you know what I was doing when you were in Miami with Sophia? Silence on the other end. I was in labor. For 18 hours. Alone. The nurses kept asking where my husband was, and I kept making excuses because I was too embarrassed to admit the truth. Elena. When Lily finally came, I was so exhausted I could barely hold her. And the first thing I thought, the very first thing was, I have to call Daniel. He's going to be so happy. Because even after everything, even after the unanswered calls and the lies and the perfume on your shirts, I still believed in you. I know I don't deserve. You called me on Christmas morning. Do you remember 4 hours after I gave birth? You told me you wanted a divorce. You said you'd found someone else. You said you hoped I'd understand. I was wrong. I was so wrong. You missed your daughter's first breath because you were drinking champagne with your mistress. You missed her first cry, her first moment of life, because you were too busy being powerful and important with a woman who approved your promotions. I'm sorry. Stop saying that. Elena's voice hardened. Stop apologizing like words can fix this, like anything can fix this. What do you want me to do? I'll do anything. There's nothing you can do. That's what you don't understand. The life we had, the family, we could have been the father you could have been to Lily, it's gone. You burned it down because Sophia made you feel special. I'll fight for you, for Lily. I'll prove I can be better. No, Elena, please. You want to know what I want. Really want. She took a breath. I want 5 months of my life back. I want to not have cried myself to sleep every night wondering what I did wrong. I want to not have explained to my father on his deathbed why his son-in-law wasn't there to say goodbye. Richard knew. He knew everything. He hired investigators. He saw the hotel receipts, the text messages, the photos of you and Sophia on the beach. He knew you were cheating on me for months before I did. Silence. He didn't tell you. He didn't want to break my heart while I was pregnant. So he changed his will instead. He made sure that when the truth came out, I'd have the power to decide what happened next. So all of this, the inheritance, the company tonight, it was his plan. No. Elena shook her head even though Daniel couldn't see. The company was his plan. Tonight was mine. What do you mean? I mean, I could have fired you quietly, could have had legal send a termination letter, could have made it clean and professional and private. She paused. But I wanted you to feel it. I wanted you to stand on that stage in front of everyone who respected you and have it ripped away. The way you ripped everything away from me. That's revenge. No, that's justice. Elena's voice was calm now, cold, final. You taught me something, Daniel. You taught me that love doesn't protect you. Trust doesn't protect you. The only thing that protects you is power. And now I have it. Elena, we can nothing. There is no we. There never will be again. She took a breath. Goodbye, Daniel. She hung up. The phone buzzed immediately. His name on the screen. She blocked the number and put the phone in her clutch. When she looked up, Margaret was standing nearby watching. Are you okay? No, Elena said honestly. But I will be. What did he want? Forgiveness, understanding, a chance to explain. Elena shook her head. The same things he always wanted. Everything for himself, nothing for anyone else. Did you give him any of it? I gave him the truth. That's more than he deserves. Margaret nodded slowly. Your car is waiting outside. The board suggests you go home, get some rest. Tomorrow's going to be a battlefield. The board is right. Elena started walking toward the exit. Then she stopped. Margaret? Yes. Thank you for clapping first, for believing in me before anyone else did. Margaret's eyes glistened. I've believed in you since you were 6 years old and told me you were going to be a princess astronaut doctor. Tonight just confirmed what I already knew. What's that? That you're your father's daughter, through and through. Elena nodded once, then walked out of the ballroom. The lobby was empty except for security. The valets had her car waiting. She slid into the back seat and gave the driver her address. As the car pulled away from the Hartwell, Elena looked back at the building, the lights still blazing, the party still happening, the world she'd just inherited spinning on without her. Her phone buzzed. A text from Karen. Lily woke up. Wouldn't go back to sleep until I sang the song you sing her. Took me 20 minutes to learn it. You owe me. Elena smiled, the first real smile she'd felt all night. She typed back, I owe you everything. Be home soon. The car wound through city streets, past the apartments she and Daniel had looked at when they were first married, past the restaurant where he'd proposed, past the park where they'd talked about baby names dreaming of a future that would never exist. Elena closed her eyes. Tomorrow the real work would begin. Lawyers, meetings, shareholders, press. 100 fires to put out and 1,000 decisions to make. But tonight, she just wanted to hold her daughter. The car pulled up to her apartment building. Elena thanked the driver, walked inside, and took the elevator to the 4th floor. Karen was waiting on the couch, Lily asleep in her arms. She wouldn't let me put her down, Karen whispered. I think she knew something was happening. Elena crossed the room and carefully lifted Lily into her own arms. The baby stirred, made a small sound, then settled against Elena's chest. Hey, baby girl. Elena murmured. "Mommy's home." So, Karen stood up stretching. "Are you going to tell me what happened tonight? Because your name is trending on Twitter and I'm seeing some very interesting videos." "Tomorrow." Elena didn't take her eyes off Lily. "I'll explain everything tomorrow." "That bad? That complicated?" Karen studied her sister for a long moment. "You look different." "Everybody keeps saying that." "No, I mean it. You look like—" She searched for the word. "Like Mom. After Dad left." Elena looked up. Their mother had died when Elena was 12. Karen was 10. They rarely talked about her. "Mom was the strongest person I ever knew," Karen continued. "She raised 2 kids alone, worked 2 jobs, never complained. And she had this look sometimes, like she'd seen the worst and survived it, and wasn't afraid of anything anymore." "I don't feel strong." "You don't have to feel it. You just have to be it." Karen grabbed her purse and headed for the door. "Get some sleep. Something tells me tomorrow's going to be a hell of a day." She left. Elena stood in the quiet apartment, her daughter breathing softly against her chest, the weight of everything she'd done and everything still to come, pressing down on her shoulders. She walked to the nursery, laid Lily gently in her crib, covered her with the blanket Richard had sent when she was born, the one with little elephants on it, because he'd remembered Elena loved elephants as a child. "Your grandpa would have loved you," Elena whispered. "He would have spoiled you rotten and let you eat ice cream for dinner and taught you to play chess before you could walk." Lily's tiny hand curled around Elena's finger. "I'm going to make him proud, baby. I'm going to make both of us proud." She stood there for a long time, watching her daughter sleep, feeling something shift inside her. Not anger anymore. Not grief. Something harder. Something older. Something that had been waiting her whole life to emerge. Purpose. Elena Morgan had spent 32 years being what other people wanted. The good daughter. The supportive wife. The understanding ex. That woman was gone. In her place stood someone new. Someone who owned an empire. Someone who had just destroyed the man who betrayed her. Someone who would burn the whole world down to protect her daughter. The CEO of Hartwell Industries. And tomorrow, she would start building something from the ashes. Elena didn't sleep. She tried. Lay in bed for 3 hours, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment from the ballroom. Daniel's face when she said his name. Sophia's mascara running down her cheeks. The applause that had thundered through the room like a wave she hadn't expected. At 4 a.m., she gave up. Made coffee. Sat at her kitchen table with the folder William had given her, reading through every document, every receipt, every piece of evidence that would either save her or destroy her in the coming legal battle. At 6 a.m., Lily woke up crying. Elena fed her, changed her, held her close while the sun rose over the city. This small, perfect human, who had no idea her mother had just declared war on her father. Who didn't know that somewhere across town, Daniel was probably awake too, planning his counterattack. "Whatever happens," Elena whispered into Lily's soft hair, "I did it for you, so you'd never have to wonder if your mother was strong enough to protect you." At 7:30, her phone started ringing. It didn't stop. Reporters, shareholders, board members, people she'd never met who somehow had her personal number. Elena let them all go to voicemail and focused on getting ready. At 8:45, she kissed Lily goodbye. Karen had agreed to stay another day and headed for Hartwell Industries headquarters. The building looked different in daylight. Elena had been here before, of course. Company picnics, holiday parties, the occasional lunch with Daniel when they were still pretending to be happy. But she'd always been a guest. The CEO's daughter who married an employee. Someone to smile at and make small talk with and forget about. Not anymore. She walked through the lobby doors and every head turned. Security guards straightened. Receptionists stopped mid-conversation. A young man in a suit actually dropped his coffee. "Ms. Morgan." The head of security approached her. his posture rigid with nervousness. "We weren't expecting you so early." "I work here now," Elena said simply. "I should probably know where my office is." "Of course, top floor. I'll escort you personally." They walked to the private elevator, the one her father had used, the one Daniel had probably dreamed about riding someday. Now it belonged to her. The doors opened onto an executive floor that took Elena's breath away. Not because of the luxury, though it was luxurious, but because of the photographs on the walls. Her father at every stage of his life, breaking ground on the first Hartwell building, shaking hands with presidents, holding a baby Elena at her christening. And there, near the corner office, a photo she'd never seen before. Her father and Daniel, at what looked like a company event. Daniel young and eager, shaking her father's hand, grinning like he'd won the lottery. Elena stopped in front of it. "When was this taken?" The security chief looked uncomfortable. "I believe that was Mr. Carter's first day. Your father always welcomed new executives personally." "Take it down." "Ma'am, take it down. Put it in storage. I don't want to see his face in this building." "Yes, ma'am. Right away." Elena walked into her father's office. Her office now. It was exactly as she remembered. The mahogany desk he'd had shipped from England, the leather chair that smelled like cigars and old books, the window that overlooked the entire city, a view he'd earned one deal at a time. On the desk, a single framed photograph. Elena at 16, graduating from high school, beaming at the camera, while her father stood beside her, proud tears in his eyes. She picked it up, ran her thumb over the glass. "I'm here, Dad," she said quietly. "I made it." A knock at the door. William Hartwell stood in the doorway, briefcase in hand, looking like he hadn't slept either. "You're early," he said. "So are you." "I've been here since 5 a.m. Daniel's lawyers work fast." He walked in and set his briefcase on the desk. "They filed a lawsuit at 7 Azure this morning. Wrongful termination, defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress. They're asking for $12 million. Elena didn't flinch. "Is that supposed to scare me?" "It's supposed to pressure you into settling. They know the lawsuit is weak. They're counting on you wanting to avoid a public fight." "They don't know me very well." William smiled slightly. "No, they don't." He opened the briefcase and pulled out a thick stack of papers. "I've drafted our response. We're not just defending, we're attacking. Counterclaims for fraud, theft, breach of fiduciary duty, and conspiracy with Sophia Lane to defraud the company." "How much?" "We're asking for $28 million, plus recovery of all fraudulently obtained compensation for the past 4 years, plus legal fees." Elena raised an eyebrow. "Will we win? On the countersuit?" "Almost certainly. On their claims against you." William shrugged. "Depends on the judge. Depends on how good their lawyers are. Depends on whether any of last night's witnesses decide to lie for Daniel." "Why would anyone lie for him?" "Fear, loyalty, money. People lie for all sorts of reasons." William hesitated. "There's something else." "What?" "Daniel's lawyers are claiming you had a mental breakdown. They're saying your accusations were the result of postpartum psychosis, that you're an unstable mother who shouldn't be running a company or raising a child." Elena's blood went cold. "They're going after Lily. Not directly, not yet, but they're planting seeds. Suggesting you're unfit. Suggesting Daniel should have emergency custody while the legal proceedings play out." Elena stood up so fast her chair rolled back and hit the wall. "He abandoned her. He wasn't there when she was born. He's seen her exactly twice in 5 months, and both times he spent more time looking at his phone than at his daughter. And now he wants custody." "He doesn't want custody. He wants leverage." William's voice was calm, steady. "If he can threaten to take Lily, he thinks you'll settle. Drop the countersuit. Let him walk away with something. I would burn this entire company to the ground before I let him take my daughter. I know. That's why I'm telling you now, so you're prepared." William pulled out another document. We need to get ahead of this. I've already contacted a family law specialist. She's the best in the state. She's expecting your call." Elena took the paper. A name and number, a law firm she recognized from billboards. What else? "The board wants to meet with you. Today, 3 o'clock. They're concerned about the media attention, about shareholder reaction, about whether you're stable enough to lead." Stable enough? Their words, not mine. William held up a hand before she could respond. "I know. It's insulting. It's sexist. It's exactly the kind of thing Daniel's lawyers are counting on. But the board has legitimate concerns, and you need to address them." What do they want to hear? That you have a plan, that you're not going to make decisions based on emotion, that the company is in good hands. And if I can't convince them, then they can vote to remove you. You own 94% of the company, so they can't actually fire you, but they can make your life very difficult. Block decisions. Resign en masse. Go to the press with concerns about leadership. Elena closed her eyes. 24 hours ago, she'd been a stay-at-home mom, living in a small apartment, spending her days with her daughter, and her nights trying to forget she'd ever been married. Now she was fighting a legal battle, a custody threat, and a boardroom coup all at once. "I need coffee," she said. "There's a machine in the executive lounge, or I can have someone bring—" "No, I need to walk. I need to move. I need to not be in this office for 5 minutes." William nodded. "I'll be here when you get back." Elena walked out of the office past the photographs of her father, past the curious stares of executives who'd arrived for work, and found a new CEO waiting for them. The executive lounge was empty except for one person. A woman, mid-40s, sharp suit, sharper eyes. She was pouring herself coffee like she owned the place. "You must be Elena." "I must be." Elena walked to the coffee machine. "Who are you?" "Patricia Hendricks, Chief Operations Officer. I report directly to you now." She took a sip of her coffee, watching Elena over the rim. "Or I will if you survive the week." "That's encouraging." "I'm not here to encourage you. I'm here to assess you." Patricia set down her cup. "The board asked me to have a conversation, to figure out if you're serious about this job or if last night was just a revenge play that you'll get bored of once Daniel's life is ruined." Elena turned to face her. "What do you think?" "I think you're either the real thing or you're the best actress I've ever seen." Patricia tilted her head slightly. "I've been in this business for 22 years. I've seen a lot of people inherit power. Most of them don't last 6 months. They don't have the stomach for the decisions, the politics, the endless meetings about things that make your eyes bleed. And you think I'm one of those people? I think you're your father's daughter. Richard was the same way when he started, too emotional, too principled, too convinced that being right was enough." She paused. "It took him 10 years to learn that being right isn't enough. You have to be smart. You have to be patient. You have to be willing to lose battles so you can win wars." "What battles am I supposed to lose?" "Daniel, for starters." Elena's jaw tightened. "Excuse me. I'm not saying let him win. I'm saying let him go. Drop the countersuit. Let him have his settlement. Get him out of your life completely." Patricia held up a hand. "Before you bite my head off, hear me out. Every day this legal battle continues, it distracts from running the company. Every headline about your divorce is a headline that isn't about our quarterly earnings. Every minute you spend thinking about Daniel is a minute you're not spending on the 60,000 employees who depend on this company for their livelihoods. So I should just let him walk away, after everything he did. I'm saying justice has a price, and sometimes that price is too high." Patricia finished her coffee. "But that's just my opinion. You're the CEO. You get to decide." She walked past Elena toward the door, then stopped. "One more thing. The board meeting at 3, don't be defensive. Don't be emotional. Don't talk about Daniel or Sophia or your marriage. Talk about the company. Talk about your vision. Talk about the future." She looked back. They don't care about your personal life. They care about their investments. Remember that. She left. Elena stood alone in the executive lounge, her untouched coffee growing cold in her hands. Patricia's advice made sense. Strategically, professionally. Everything she said was probably right. But Elena couldn't let Daniel go. Not because she wanted revenge, though part of her did. Not because she wanted him to suffer, though part of her wanted that too. Because Lily. Because someday her daughter would grow up and ask questions. Who was my father? Why did he leave? What kind of man was he? And Elena wanted to be able to look her in the eye and say, I fought for you. I didn't let anyone hurt you. I made sure the man who abandoned us couldn't do it to anyone else. That was worth more than quarterly earnings, more than shareholder confidence, more than any war Patricia thought she should fight. Elena dumped her coffee in the sink and walked back to her office. William was on the phone when she entered. He hung up quickly. That was the family lawyer. She can meet you in an hour. Good. And there's something else. William's expression was strange, hard to read. Sophia Lane wants to talk to you. Elena stopped cold. What? She called the main switchboard. Said she has information. Said she'll only give it to you directly. Information about what? She wouldn't say, but she sounded scared. William paused. Really scared. Elena's mind raced. Sophia had been escorted out last night, humiliated, exposed. Why would she want to talk? What could she possibly have to say? Where is she? Lobby. Security's holding her at reception. They weren't sure what to do. Elena thought about it for exactly 3 seconds. Bring her up. William's eyebrows rose. Are you sure that's wise? No, but I want to hear what she has to say. 10 minutes later, Sophia Lane walked into Elena's office. She looked nothing like the woman from last night. The red dress was gone, replaced by jeans and a wrinkled blouse. Her hair was unwashed. Her eyes were red from crying. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. Elena. Her voice cracked. Thank you for seeing me. I didn't do it for you. I did it because I'm curious. Elena stayed behind her desk, keeping the furniture between them. What do you want? Sophia's hands were shaking. I know you hate me. You have every right to hate me. But I need to tell you something. Something about Daniel. I know everything about Daniel. No, you don't. Sophia took a breath. The affair, the expense reports, the trips. That's just what you found. There's more. Elena felt her stomach tighten. More what? More women. Before me, after me. Sophia's eyes filled with tears. I thought I was special. I thought he loved me. But I found things on his phone. Messages, photos, names I didn't recognize. You're telling me he cheated on you, the woman he cheated on me with. I know how that sounds. I know I deserve it. Sophia wiped her eyes. But there's one woman. Her name is Rachel Summers. She worked in accounting. Daniel, he got her pregnant. 2 years ago. Before you. Elena's world tilted. That's not possible. It's true. I found the payments. He paid her $200,000 to keep quiet, to get an abortion, to sign a non-disclosure agreement. How do you know this? Because he made me process the paperwork. Sophia's voice broke completely. I was so in love with him. I would have done anything he asked, and he asked me to help him cover up another woman's pregnancy while his wife was at home pregnant with his child. Elena gripped the edge of her desk. She thought she'd known the depth of Daniel's betrayal. She thought last night had been the end of it. But this was something else entirely. Where's the paperwork? Sophia reached into her purse and pulled out a flash drive. Everything. The NDA, the payment records, her contact information, and something else. What? Rachel didn't have an abortion. The words hung in the air. She took the money and left the state, but she kept the baby. Sophia's hand trembled as she held out the flash drive. Daniel has another child, Elena. A son. He's almost 2 years old. Elena took the flash drive. It felt impossibly heavy in her palm. Why are you telling me this? Because Daniel destroyed my life last night. Everything I had, my job, my reputation, my future gone. Because of him. Sophia's face hardened through her tears. I loved him. I gave up everything for him. And the whole time I was just another name on his list. So this is revenge. This is justice. Sophia laughed bitterly. Your word right. From last night I heard every word you said on that stage. And you were right. About all of it. Elena looked at the flash drive, looked at Sophia, looked at everything she thought she knew crumbling around her. Does Daniel know you're here? No, and he can't find out. If he knows I have this information. Sophia didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. What do you want from me? Protection. A reference letter. Anything that helps me rebuild. Sophia met Elena's eyes. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it, but I'm asking for a chance. Elena was silent for a long moment. This woman had slept with her husband, had helped him lie, cheat, steal, had stood beside him last night laughing at Elena's pain. But she'd also just handed Elena a weapon, a nuclear weapon. William, Elena called out. The lawyer appeared in the doorway. Have legal draw up a consultation agreement for Ms. Lane. In exchange for her full cooperation and testimony, we'll provide a neutral reference and agree not to pursue civil action against her personally. Sophia's shoulders sagged with relief. Thank you. Don't thank me. Elena's voice was cold. You're not forgiven. You're useful. There's a difference. Sophia nodded, fresh tears spilling down her cheeks. I understand. William will take care of the paperwork. I have a meeting with a family lawyer in 30 minutes. Elena stood. And Sophia? Yes. If I find out you're lying to me, if any of this is a setup or a trap or some game Daniel put you up to. Elena's eyes were ice. I will destroy you so completely that last night will look like a birthday party. Sophia swallowed hard. I'm not lying. I swear on everything I have left. We'll see. Elena walked out of her office, past Sophia's broken form, past William's calculating eyes, past everything she thought her life would be. In 48 hours, she'd gone from single mother to CEO to warrior. And the battle was only beginning. The family lawyer's office was downtown, in a building that screamed money and power. Elena signed in at reception and was escorted to a corner office with a view that rivaled her own. Jennifer Walsh stood up from behind her desk. 50s, silver hair cut sharp, a handshake that meant business. Ms. Morgan, I've heard a lot about you in the past 12 hours. Most of it bad, I assume. Most of it impressive. Jennifer gestured to a chair. Sit. We have a lot to discuss. Elena sat. I've reviewed Daniel's filing. His custody threat is a bluff. He has no legal ground to stand on. He abandoned the family home, wasn't present for the birth, and has had minimal contact with your daughter since. Jennifer paused. However, I hate that word. However, the mental health angle concerns me. If his lawyers can convince a judge that you're unstable even temporarily, they can request a psychological evaluation. That takes time, creates uncertainty, opens doors. How do we close those doors? Preemptively, we get you evaluated by our own expert first, someone reputable, unimpeachable. We document your mental health, your fitness as a mother, your stability. By the time Daniel's lawyers make their motion, we already have the answer. And if I'm not stable? Jennifer looked at her steadily. Are you? Elena thought about the question. Really thought about it. Was she stable? She'd exposed her ex-husband in front of 300 people. She'd taken over a billion-dollar company with no experience. She was running on 4 hours of sleep and enough coffee to fuel a small army. But she'd also fed her daughter this morning. Sung her the song she liked. kissed her forehead, and promised to come home. "I'm as stable as anyone in my situation could be," Elena said finally. "I'm angry. I'm hurt. I'm scared. But I'm functioning. I'm making decisions. I'm taking care of my daughter." "Good answer." Jennifer smiled slightly. "I'll schedule the evaluation for tomorrow. In the meantime, document everything. Every interaction with Daniel, every phone call, every text message. We build a timeline that shows exactly who abandoned whom." "There's something else." Elena pulled out the flash drive Sophia had given her. "I just learned that Daniel has another child. A son. From an affair 2 years ago. He paid the woman $200,000 to keep quiet." Jennifer's eyebrows rose. "Can you verify this?" "The paperwork is on this drive. The mother's name is Rachel Summers. She left the state but kept the baby." Jennifer took the flash drive, turning it over in her hands. "This changes everything." "How?" "Daniel's entire legal strategy is based on portraying you as the unstable one, the emotional ex-wife who can't let go. But if he has a pattern of this behavior, if there's a child he's hidden, a woman he's paid off, suddenly you're not the story. He is." Elena felt something shift in her chest. A weight lifting, a door opening. "Use it," she said. "Use all of it." "With pleasure." Jennifer stood and extended her hand. "Ms. Morgan, I think this is going to be a very interesting case." Elena shook her hand. "I think that's an understatement." She left the lawyer's office and checked her watch. 1 o'clock. 2 hours until the board meeting. 2 hours to figure out how to convince a room full of skeptics that she was the right person to lead a company she'd never worked for. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "I know what you did. You think you've won. You haven't. This is just the beginning. D." Elena stared at the message. Then she blocked the number, put her phone away, and headed back to Hartwell Industries. Daniel wanted a war. He'd get one. The boardroom was already full when Elena arrived. 12 faces. 12 pairs of eyes tracking her as she walked through the door. Some curious. Some skeptical. Some openly hostile. Margaret Chen sat at the far end, her expression carefully neutral. Patricia Hendricks was beside her, arms crossed, watching Elena like a hawk watching a mouse. Elena took her place at the head of the table. Her father's chair. The chair she'd sat in as a little girl, spinning in circles, while he laughed and told her to be careful. She wasn't a little girl anymore. "Thank you all for coming," she said, her voice steady. "I know the past 24 hours have been unusual." "Unusual is one word for it," muttered a man to her left. Robert something. Finance. She'd seen his name on org charts, but never met him in person. "I prefer necessary," Elena replied. "But I'm open to other interpretations." Robert leaned forward. "Ms. Morgan, with all due respect, you have zero experience running a company. You've never held an executive position. You've never managed a budget or led a team or made a single decision that affected anyone's livelihood." He spread his hands. "And your first act as CEO was to turn a corporate celebration into a personal vendetta." "My first act as CEO was to remove 2 employees who had been defrauding this company for years, in front of 300 people, with cameras rolling. Would you have preferred I send a polite email?" Robert's jaw tightened. "I would have preferred discretion, professionalism, the kind of leadership that doesn't make us a trending topic on Twitter." We were already a trending topic. Daniel made sure of that with his falsified expense reports and his affair with a senior HR manager. Elena looked around the table. "I'm not going to apologize for telling the truth. This board has spent months suspecting something was wrong. I confirmed it." "You didn't confirm it," Patricia cut in. "You performed it. There's a difference." "Is there?" Elena turned to face her. "Because from where I'm sitting, the result is the same. Daniel's gone. Sophia's gone. The fraud has been exposed. Legal is already building a case for recovery. And Daniel is suing us for $12 million, which will countersue for $28 million, plus recovery of all fraudulent compensation, plus legal fees. Patricia raised an eyebrow. You sound very confident for someone who's been CEO for less than a day. I am confident, because I'm right. Elena leaned forward. I know you all have concerns. I know I'm not what you expected. But my father built this company from nothing, and he left it to me for a reason. He trusted me to protect it, to lead it, to make the hard decisions that needed to be made. Your father, Robert said carefully, was a businessman, a visionary. He understood markets and timing and when to take risks. He paused. You're a housewife who just inherited a billion-dollar company. Those aren't the same thing. The word hit Elena like a slap. Housewife. She felt the anger rise in her chest. The same anger that had driven her onto that stage last night. The same anger that had made her tear Daniel's world apart in front of everyone who'd ever respected him. But she didn't let it show. You're right, she said quietly. I am a housewife. I spent the last 4 years supporting my husband's career, raising a child, managing a household. I balanced budgets and solved problems, and made 1,000 decisions a day that no one ever noticed or appreciated. She stood up, placing both hands flat on the table. You want to know what I learned in those 4 years? I learned that people lie. I learned that trust is earned, not given. I learned that the people closest to you can be the ones who hurt you most. Her eyes swept the room. And I learned that when everything falls apart, you have 2 choices. You can break, or you can become something stronger. The room was silent. I'm not my father. I don't have his experience or his connections or his decades of business wisdom, but I have something he didn't have at the end. Elena's voice hardened. I have nothing left to lose. My marriage is over. My father is dead. The life I thought I'd have is gone. All I have left is this company and my daughter, and I will fight for both of them with everything I have. Margaret Chen spoke for the first time. What exactly are you proposing? 6 months, Elena said. Give me 6 months to prove I can do this. I'll work with Patricia on operations. I'll meet with every department head. I'll learn this company from the ground up. And if you fail, then I'll step aside, appoint a professional CEO, take a seat on the board, and let someone else lead. She paused. But I won't fail, won't, because I can't afford to. Robert exchanged glances with the other board members. Silent conversation happening in raised eyebrows and subtle nods. 6 months, Patricia said finally. With quarterly reviews. If we see red flags, instability, poor decisions, anything that threatens shareholder value, we revisit the arrangement immediately. Agreed. And the legal situation with Daniel? Handled by William and outside counsel. I'll be kept informed, but won't make it my primary focus. Elena looked at Patricia. You were right this morning. Every minute I spend thinking about Daniel is a minute I'm not spending on the company. I heard you. Something shifted in Patricia's expression. Surprise maybe, or respect. Then we have a deal, Margaret said, standing. 6 months, starting today. The board members began gathering their things. Robert paused at the door. Ms. Morgan. Elena looked at him. I was wrong to call you a housewife. That was dismissive. He hesitated. My wife stayed home with our kids for 15 years. She's the strongest person I know. I should have remembered that. Thank you. He nodded and left. Patricia lingered until the room was empty. That was well done. Which part? All of it. The controlled anger, the vulnerability, the deal you offered. Patricia tilted her head. You're better at this than you think. I'm terrified, Elena admitted. Good. Terrified people pay attention. Patricia headed for the door. My office is on the 42nd floor. Tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. We start with a full operational review. I'll be there. Patricia left. Elena stood alone in the boardroom, her heart still pounding, her hands still shaking. She'd bought herself 6 months. Now she had to figure out what to do with them. Her phone buzzed. Jennifer Walsh. Elena, we found Rachel Summers. Where? Portland, Oregon. She's agreed to talk. She's angry, Elena. Really angry. Apparently, Daniel stopped his payments 6 months ago, right around the time he filed for divorce. She's been struggling ever since. He stopped paying child support. He stopped paying everything. The NDA had a clause payments in exchange for silence. When the payments stopped, technically, the NDA became void. Jennifer paused. She wants to go public. Elena closed her eyes. Another woman destroyed by Daniel. Another child abandoned. Another mess that could have been prevented if someone had just told the truth earlier. Set up a meeting, Elena said. I'll fly to Portland tonight. You have a board meeting tomorrow. Patricia will understand. This is important. Elena, are you sure this is a good idea, getting personally involved in Daniel's other? This isn't about Daniel. It's about a woman and a child who need help. Elena's voice softened. I know what it's like to be alone with a baby and no support. I know what it's like to wonder how you're going to pay rent and buy diapers and keep the lights on. If I can help her, I will. Jennifer was quiet for a moment. You're a good person, Elena. Don't let this situation change that. I won't. She hung up and headed for the elevator. The flight to Portland was 3 hours. Elena spent most of it reviewing documents from Sophia's flash drive. The evidence was damning. Payment records showing regular transfers to Rachel Summers for 18 months. Then, nothing. A cold stop right around the time Elena served Daniel with divorce papers. He'd been paying hush money while married to Elena, while she was pregnant with Lily, while he was sleeping with Sophia and pretending to be a devoted husband. The layers of deception made her sick. A car met her at the Portland airport. The address Jennifer had given was a small apartment complex on the outskirts of the city. Working class. Tired. Elena knocked on door 4B. A woman answered. Late 20s, dark hair, exhausted eyes, a toddler balanced on her hip. You're Elena Morgan. Yes? I've seen the videos from the party. Everyone has. Rachel shifted the boy to her other hip. You destroyed him. I told the truth. Same thing with Daniel. Rachel stepped back. Come in. The apartment was small but clean. Toys scattered on the floor, dishes piled in the sink, the smell of something cooking on the stove. Sorry about the mess, Rachel said. I work 2 jobs. Don't have much time for housekeeping. Please don't apologize. Elena looked at the boy. Dark hair, dark eyes. Daniel's eyes. What's his name? Marcus. Rachel sat down on a worn couch, settling Marcus on her lap. After my father. Daniel wanted me to name him James after his grandfather, but I figured if he wasn't going to be around, he didn't get a vote. He knew about the baby. He knew everything. He was there when I took the pregnancy test. He was there when I had the ultrasound. Rachel's voice turned bitter. He was also there when he handed me a check and told me to take care of it. But you didn't. I couldn't. I tried, made an appointment and everything. Sat in the parking lot for 2 hours, but I couldn't go through with it. She looked down at Marcus. He was already real to me, already mine. What happened after? Daniel was furious, said I was ruining his life, said if anyone found out it would destroy his career, his marriage, everything he'd worked for. Rachel laughed humorlessly. His marriage, like it meant something to him. Did you know about me? Not at first. He told me he was single, told me he was lonely, told me all the things men tell women when they want something. She met Elena's eyes. By the time I found out he was married, I was already pregnant, already in love, already trapped. I'm sorry. Why? You didn't do anything. I'm sorry because you deserved better, because Marcus deserved better. Elena sat down across from her. Jennifer told me the payments stopped. Rachel nodded. 6 months ago. No warning, no explanation. Just nothing. I called the number he gave me for emergencies. Disconnected. I emailed the account he'd used to send money. Bounced back. He cut you off completely. Like I never existed. Rachel's eyes filled with tears. I had to take a second job. Put Marcus in daycare I can't afford. I'm 3 months behind on rent, and the landlord is threatening eviction. Elena reached into her purse and pulled out a checkbook. What are you doing? Helping. Elena wrote a check and handed it over. This covers your rent for the next year, and a deposit on a better apartment, and enough to quit one of your jobs so you can spend more time with your son. Rachel stared at the check. Her hands trembled. I can't accept this. You can. You will. Elena's voice was firm. Daniel owes you. He owes Marcus, and since he's not going to pay, I will. Why you don't even know me? Because I know what it's like to be alone and scared and wondering how you're going to survive. Because I know what it's like to trust someone who turns out to be a monster. Elena leaned forward. And because someday our children are going to ask about their father. And when they do, I want to be able to tell them that even though he was terrible, other people were kind. That even though he abandoned them, someone showed up. Rachel was crying now, real tears streaming down her face. I hate him, she whispered. I hate him so much. I know. But I don't hate Marcus. I can't. He's the best thing that ever happened to me. That's how I feel about Lily. Elena reached out and took Rachel's hand. They're not their father. They never will be. Marcus squirmed on Rachel's lap, reaching for the coffee table. She adjusted him automatically, a mother's instinct, so ingrained it was invisible. What happens now? Rachel asked. Now you have choices. Jennifer can help you file for child support. Real child support through the courts. Daniel will fight it, but we have evidence he's already been paying. That establishes precedent. And the NDA? Void. He stopped payments, which means you're free to speak, if you want to. Do I want to? Rachel looked at Marcus. Do I want my son to grow up knowing his father was a piece of garbage? Do I want his face on the news? Do I want strangers on the internet having opinions about our lives? Those are your decisions to make, not mine. But you have an opinion. Elena hesitated. I think the truth matters. I think Daniel has spent years hiding who he really is, and every woman he's hurt has been silenced by money or shame or fear. I think if you speak up, other women might speak up too. And I think that's valuable. And I think my son is 2 years old and doesn't need his life complicated by his father's mistakes. That's fair too. Rachel looked at the check in her hand. You're really going to give me this no strings attached? No strings. Just one request. What? If you ever see another woman being hurt by Daniel or anyone like him, help her if you can. Pay it forward. Rachel was quiet for a long moment. Then she folded the check carefully and tucked it into her pocket. My mother always said there were 2 kinds of people in the world, the kind who build others up and the kind who tear them down. She looked at Elena. I thought Daniel was the first kind. I was wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong about you. I hope not. Elena stood. Jennifer will be in touch about the legal options. Whatever you decide, she'll support it. And you? I'll be back in Chicago trying to run a company I have no idea how to run. Elena smiled slightly. But if you ever need anything at all, you have my number. She walked to the door. Elena. She turned. Thank you for coming all this way, for believing me, for not treating me like the other woman. You're not the other woman, you're a mother, same as me. Elena opened the door. That's all that matters. She left the apartment and walked back to the car. The driver glanced at her in the rearview mirror. Airport, ma'am? Yes, I need to get home. Home. To Lily. To the company. To the life she was building from the wreckage of everything she'd lost. The flight back to Chicago felt longer than the flight out. Elena spent most of it staring out the window, watching the lights of cities pass below, thinking about all the women down there who were trapped in situations like hers, like Rachel's. Women who loved men who didn't deserve them. Women who trusted and were betrayed. Women who were called housewives like it was an insult. Her phone buzzed when they landed. Karen. Lily won't stop saying mama. I think she knows you're coming home. Elena smiled. The first genuine smile she'd felt in days. Be there in 20 minutes. The car dropped her at her apartment just after midnight. Karen was asleep on the couch, the TV playing softly. Elena covered her with a blanket and crept into the nursery. Lily was awake. Not crying. Just lying in her crib, eyes open, watching the door like she'd been waiting. Hey, baby girl, Elena whispered, lifting her out. Mama's home. Lily grabbed a fistful of Elena's hair and made a sound that might have been mama, or might have been nothing. It didn't matter. Elena held her close, breathing in the smell of baby shampoo and innocence. I met your brother today, she said softly. Half-brother. His name is Marcus. He's got your daddy's eyes. Lily blinked. I know. It's complicated. Everything's complicated now. But someday, I'll explain it all to you. Someday, you'll understand why Mommy had to fight so hard. Elena carried Lily to the rocking chair by the window, the one her father had given her at her baby shower, the last gift he ever gave. Your grandpa would have loved you, Elena murmured, rocking slowly. He would have spoiled you rotten, taught you to play chess, taken you to baseball games. Lily's eyes started to close. He left me his company because he believed I could run it. He believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself. Elena kissed the top of Lily's head. I'm going to make him proud, baby. I'm going to make both of us proud. Lily fell asleep in her arms. Elena kept rocking, watching the city lights through the window, feeling something settle in her chest. Not peace. Not yet. But something close. Purpose. Her phone buzzed one more time. A text from a number she didn't recognize. I know you went to Portland. I know you found Rachel. You think you're saving people. You're not. You're just making enemies. Elena stared at the message. Daniel. It had to be. Using a new number after she'd blocked the others. She typed back 3 words. I'm not afraid. Then she blocked that number too. Let him threaten. Let him scheme. Let him throw everything he had at her. She was Elena Morgan, CEO of Hartwell Industries, mother of Lily, daughter of Richard. And she was just getting started. 6 months later. Elena stood at the window of her corner office, watching the sunrise over Chicago. The same view her father had watched for 30 years, the same skyline he'd helped build. But everything else had changed. Her phone buzzed. Patricia Hendricks. The final numbers are in. Q3 revenue up 17%. Stock price at an all-time high. Shareholder confidence through the roof. Elena smiled. And the board? Unanimous. They're extending your contract indefinitely. No more reviews. No more probation. Patricia paused. You did it, Elena. You actually did it. We did it. No, I helped. Margaret helped. The team helped. But you led. That was all you. Elena turned from the window. On her desk sat a framed photograph Lily at her first birthday party, frosting smeared across her face, laughing at the camera. What about the other matter? Daniel's trial starts Monday. William says the prosecution has everything they need. The fraud charges alone carry up to 10 years. And Rachel testified last week. So did 3 other women who came forward after the story broke. Patricia's voice softened. You started something, Elena. Something bigger than just your divorce. Elena thought about the foundation she'd started. The Morgan Family Foundation, dedicated to supporting single mothers survivors of domestic abuse, women rebuilding their lives. Funded by her personal wealth with matching contributions from Hartwell Industries. In 6 months, they'd helped over 200 families. Is there anything else? Elena asked. Just one thing. Daniel's lawyers reached out again. He wants to meet with you, privately, before the trial. Elena's jaw tightened. No. I told them you'd say that, but they were insistent. Said he has something important to tell you, something about Lily. The words hit Elena like ice water. What about Lily? They wouldn't say, just that it's urgent and personal. Elena closed her eyes. Every instinct screamed to refuse, to let Daniel rot in whatever cell he ended up in, to never see his face again. But Lily. If there was anything at all that affected her daughter, Elena had to know. Where does he want to meet? His lawyer's office. Tomorrow at 3. Fine, but I'm bringing William, and I'm recording everything. Already arranged. Elena hung up and looked at the photograph of Lily again, 1 year old, walking now, talking sort of, saying mama, and no, and more, and a dozen other words that made Elena's heart explode every time she heard them. Lily didn't know her father, didn't remember him, didn't ask about the man in the wedding photos that Elena had hidden away months ago. But someday she would ask, and Elena would have to decide what to tell her. The next afternoon, Elena walked into the law offices of Morrison and Associates. William was beside her briefcase in hand, expression grim. You don't have to do this, he said quietly. Yes, I do. Whatever he says, don't let him get to you. That's what he wants. I know what he wants. The receptionist led them to a conference room. Elena paused at the door, steadying herself. Then she walked in. Daniel was already there. He looked different. Thinner. Older. The confidence that had always radiated from him like heat was gone, replaced by something hollow and desperate. His lawyer stood as Elena entered. Ms. Morgan, thank you for coming. Mr. Carter has something he'd like to discuss privately. Anything he says to me, he says in front of my attorney. Elena sat down across from Daniel, her face expressionless. Talk. Daniel's eyes met hers. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then he said, You look good. I'm not here for compliments. I know. He swallowed hard. I know I don't deserve your time. I don't deserve anything from you. But there's something you need to know. Something I should have told you a long time ago. So tell me. Daniel glanced at his lawyer, who nodded. It's about your father, Daniel said. Elena felt her body go rigid. What about him? He didn't just find out about my affair with Sophia. He found out about everything. Rachel, the payments, the other women. Daniel's voice cracked. He confronted me 3 months before he died, called me into his office and told me he knew exactly what I was. I know this already. He told me in his letter. He told you he knew about the affairs. He didn't tell you what happened next. Elena's hands curled into fists beneath the table. What happened next? I panicked. I begged him not to tell you. Begged him to give me another chance. Told him I'd end things with Sophia, that I'd be a better husband, that I'd change. Daniel laughed bitterly. He didn't believe me. Why would he? I was lying. I'd always been lying. Get to the point. The point is that your father didn't just change his will. He started investigating me, gathering evidence, building a case. Daniel's eyes glistened. He was going to destroy me, Elena. Publicly, completely. He was going to expose everything I'd done and make sure I never worked again. Good. But then he got sick. The cancer came back and it was aggressive, and suddenly he didn't have time anymore. Daniel wiped his eyes. He called me the week before he died. You were at the hospital with him, remember? You stepped out to get coffee, and he made me come to his room." Elena remembered that day. Her father, frail and pale, hooked up to machines that beeped and hummed. She'd left for 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes. What did he say? He said he wasn't going to be there to protect you. He said the evidence he'd gathered was incomplete and he didn't have time to finish. He said the only thing he could do was leave you the company and hope you'd figure out the rest. I did figure it out. I know. But that's not what I needed to tell you. Daniel took a shaky breath. He said one more thing, something I've never told anyone. What? He said he'd loved me like a son. That when I married you, it was the proudest moment of his life. That he'd believed in me, supported me, given me everything I'd ever asked for. Daniel's voice broke completely. And then he said I'd broken his heart. That watching me betray you was the worst pain he'd ever felt. Worse than the cancer. Worse than losing your mother. Worse than anything. Elena felt tears prick her eyes. She forced them back. And he said that when I stood before God, or whatever came after, I'd have to answer for what I'd done. Not to him, not to you, but to myself. Daniel looked at her with something that might have been genuine remorse. He was right, Elena. I've been answering for it ever since. Every night. Every morning. Every time I close my eyes. You expect me to feel sorry for you. No, I expect nothing from you. I deserve nothing. Daniel straightened slightly. But I wanted you to know that your father didn't just leave you a company. He left you a weapon. He knew exactly what you'd do with it. He was counting on it. Elena processed his words. Her father, dying in that hospital bed, using his last days to ensure she'd have the power to fight back, to protect herself, to destroy the man who'd destroyed their family. "Why are you telling me this now?" she asked. "Because my lawyers want me to plead guilty. Take a deal. 5 years instead of 10. Daniel's hands trembled on the table. "And I'm going to do it. But before I go away, I wanted you to know that your father won. He set this whole thing in motion. He knew you'd find the evidence. He knew you'd fight. He knew you'd win. So this is closure for you. This is confession, the only honest thing I've done in years." Daniel met her eyes. "I'm sorry, Elena. Not for getting caught. Not for going to prison. For all of it. For every lie, every betrayal, every moment I made you feel like you weren't enough. I was always enough. I know. I was the one who wasn't enough." Daniel stood, and his lawyer stood with him. "I won't ask for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I wanted you to hear me say I'm sorry. Really say it. One time. Before everything ends." Elena stood too. She looked at the man she'd married. The man she'd loved. The man who'd held her hand at their wedding and promised her forever. He wasn't that man anymore. Maybe he never had been. "I forgive you," she said quietly. Daniel's eyes widened. "What?" "I forgive you. Not for your sake, for mine. I'm tired of carrying the anger. I'm tired of hating you. I'm tired of letting what you did define who I am." Daniel's face crumpled, actual tears streaming down his cheeks. "Elena, but forgiveness isn't absolution." Her voice hardened. "You'll still go to prison. You'll still lose everything. And you'll still have to live with what you've done for the rest of your life." "I know." "Good." Elena gathered her things. "Goodbye, Daniel. I hope prison gives you time to become someone worth being." She walked out of the conference room without looking back. William followed silent until they reached the elevator. "That was unexpected," he said. "Which part?" "The forgiveness." Elena pressed the button for the lobby. "It's not about him. It's about me. About moving forward. About not letting the past control the future." Very zen. Very practical. The elevator doors opened. "I have a company to run and a daughter to raise. I don't have time for grudges." William smiled slightly. "Your father would be proud." "I hope so." They walked out of the building into bright sunshine. Elena's driver was waiting at the curb. "Where to, Ms. Morgan?" "Home," she said. "I want to see my daughter." The trial lasted 2 weeks. Elena didn't attend. She followed the coverage from her office, reading the headlines, watching the clips, seeing Daniel's face on screen, as witness after witness testified against him. Rachel Summers, Sophia Lane, Jessica Park. 3 other women who'd come forward after the story broke. The evidence was overwhelming. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Daniel was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison, with possibility of parole after 5. His assets were seized to pay restitution. His professional licenses were revoked. His reputation was destroyed. Elena watched the sentencing on her laptop, Lily playing on the floor beside her. When the judge pronounced the sentence, when Daniel was led away in handcuffs, when the camera caught his face, one final time. Broken, empty, finished. Elena felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not vindication, not even relief. Just peace. It was over. She closed the laptop and picked up Lily. "Hey, baby girl, what do you say we go get some ice cream?" "Ice," Lily shouted happily. Her new favorite word. Elena laughed and carried her daughter out of the office. Life went on. Months passed. Seasons changed. Lily grew from a toddler into a little girl with opinions and preferences and a personality that reminded Elena of her father, stubborn, curious, impossibly charming. The company thrived. Under Elena's leadership, Hartwell Industries expanded into new markets, launched new products, became a model for ethical business practices. The Morgan Family Foundation grew to serve thousands of families across the country. Elena dated occasionally. Nothing serious. A lawyer Margaret introduced her to. An entrepreneur she met at a conference. Kind men, decent men, but none of them felt right. She wasn't ready. Maybe she never would be. And that was okay. Because she had Lily. She had her work. She had a life she'd built from the ashes of everything she'd lost. One evening, 3 years after the gala that changed everything, Elena sat in her father's study at the house she'd inherited. Lily was asleep upstairs. The house was quiet. On the desk in front of her was a letter. Handwritten. Just arrived that day. From Daniel. She'd almost thrown it away unopened. Almost burned it. Almost pretended it didn't exist. But something made her open it. "Dear Elena, I don't expect you to read this. I wouldn't if I were you. But I need to write it anyway. I've been in prison for 3 years. 3 years of silence and regret and time to think about everything I did wrong. Every lie, every betrayal, every moment I could have been better and chose not to be. I saw the news about Lily's 3rd birthday. Someone showed me the photos online. She looks like you. Same smile, same eyes. She looks happy. That's all I wanted to say. That I'm glad she's happy. That I'm glad you're happy. That I'm glad something good came from everything I destroyed. I'm not asking for anything. Not forgiveness, you already gave me that. Not contact, I know you don't want that. Just acknowledgement. That I see what you've built. That I'm proud of you, even though I have no right to be. That I hope someday Lily knows her mother is the strongest person I've ever met. I'm sorry. Still. Always. Daniel." Elena read the letter twice. Then she folded it carefully and put it in her desk drawer. Not to save. Not to treasure. Just to remember. Remember who she'd been. Remember who he'd been. Remember how far they'd both traveled from the people they'd once been together. Her phone buzzed. Karen. "Girls' night tomorrow. Lily's begging for a sleepover with her cousins." Elena smiled and typed back. "Sounds perfect." She stood and walked to the window. The same window her father had looked through for decades. The same city lights. The same stars. "I did it, Dad," she said softly. "I made it." No answer came. None was needed. Elena turned off the light and walked upstairs to check on her daughter. Lily was sprawled across her bed, stuffed animals surrounding her like an army of soft protectors. Her dark hair was tangled. Her face was peaceful. Elena sat on the edge of the bed and brushed a strand of hair from Lily's forehead. "I hope you never know how much I fought for you," she whispered. "I hope you never have to fight that hard for anything." Lily stirred, but didn't wake. "But if you do, if life ever knocks you down, if someone ever breaks your heart, if everything you believed in falls apart, remember this. You come from strong women. Your grandmother survived losing her husband and raised 2 daughters alone. Your great-grandmother built a life from nothing in a country that wasn't her own. And your mother," Elena's voice caught, "your mother burned down everything that tried to hurt her and built something better from the ashes." She kissed Lily's forehead and stood. At the door she paused and looked back at her sleeping daughter. "You're going to be okay, baby girl. Better than okay. Because you're mine. And we don't break." She closed the door softly and walked to her own room. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new decisions, new battles to fight and wins to claim. But tonight, Elena Morgan was at peace. She'd lost her marriage and gained an empire, lost her father and found her strength, lost the life she'd planned and built one she'd never imagined. She'd been a wife who wasn't enough and became a CEO who changed everything. She'd been a woman who trusted too easily and became a leader who demanded truth. She'd been broken, shattered, left bleeding on a bathroom floor. And she'd risen, not because she had to, not because she had no choice, because she decided to, because she looked at the wreckage of everything she'd believed and said, "I will not let this destroy me." Because she took the weapon her father left her and used it to build, not just to burn. Because she was Elena Morgan, daughter, mother, CEO, and she was finally completely, unbreakably whole. The next morning, Elena woke to sunlight streaming through her window and Lily bouncing on her bed. "Mama, Mama, wake up, it's pancake day." Elena laughed and pulled her daughter close. "Pancake day isn't until Saturday." "It's Saturday," Lily insisted. Elena glanced at her phone. Saturday. She'd lost track of the days. "Okay, pancake day it is. What kind do you want?" "Chocolate chip with faces." "Chocolate chip with faces coming right up." They walked downstairs together, Lily chattering about her dreams, about her stuffed animals, about the bird she'd seen outside her window. Normal things. Happy things. The beautiful, ordinary moments that Elena had fought so hard to protect. In the kitchen, Elena started the pancake batter, while Lily helped by adding chocolate chips mostly into her mouth. "Mama." "Yes, baby. Why are there no pictures of Daddy in our house?" Elena's hand stilled. She'd known this question would come, had prepared for it, had practiced answers in her head 100 times. But now that it was here, all those rehearsed words disappeared. She knelt down to Lily's level. "Your daddy made some mistakes," she said carefully. "Big mistakes. And because of those mistakes, he had to go away." "Is he coming back?" "No, baby. He's not coming back." "Did he love me?" The question pierced Elena's heart. "I think he wanted to love you," she said honestly. "But sometimes wanting isn't enough. Sometimes people don't know how to love the way they should." Lily thought about this with the seriousness only a 3-year-old could muster. "Do you love me, Mama? More than anything in the whole world?" "More than pancakes." Elena laughed, tears pricking her eyes. "Way more than pancakes." Lily nodded, satisfied. "Okay. Can we make the pancakes now?" "Yes, baby. Let's make the pancakes." They spent the morning cooking and eating and laughing. Lily got syrup in her hair. Elena burned the last batch. Neither of them cared. Later, while Lily napped, Elena sat on the back porch with a cup of coffee watching the garden her father had planted 20 years ago. Roses and hydrangeas and a cherry tree that bloomed every spring. Her phone buzzed. "Patricia." "I know it's Saturday, sorry, but I thought you'd want to hear this." "What is it?" Forbes called. "They're doing a feature on women in business. They want to put you on the cover." Elena nearly dropped her coffee. The cover. The cover. With a feature story about how you took over Hartwell Industries and transformed it into a model for ethical leadership. Patricia paused. "They specifically mentioned the Morgan Family Foundation, said you've changed more lives in 3 years than most CEOs do in a lifetime." Elena didn't know what to say. "Elena, you there?" "I'm here. I never expected this." "I did." Patricia's voice was warm. "From the first day you walked into that boardroom and told a bunch of skeptical executives to give you 6 months, I knew then you were going to be special." "I was terrified that day." "I know. That's what made it impressive." Elena laughed softly. "Tell Forbes I'll do the interview, but I have one condition." "What's that?" "I want to bring Lily. I want her in the photos in the story. I want the world to know that everything I did for her." "I think they'll love that." They hung up, and Elena sat in the quiet garden thinking about everything that had led to this moment. A cheating husband, a dying father, a company she never wanted, a battle she never asked to fight. And here she was, on the other side, whole, strong, at peace. Her phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. Elena tensed, old instincts dying hard. But when she looked at the message, she smiled. "Hi, Elena. This is Rachel." Marcus just said his first full sentence. "Mama, I love you. Thought you'd want to know. Thank you for everything." Elena typed back. "That's beautiful. Give him a hug from us." A few minutes later, another message. A photo this time. Marcus, 3 years old now, grinning at the camera, chocolate ice cream smeared across his face. He looked happy, healthy, loved. Just like Lily. Elena saved the photo and put her phone away. Somewhere in a federal prison, Daniel was paying for his crimes. Somewhere in Portland, Rachel was building a new life. Somewhere in this house, Lily was sleeping peacefully, dreaming of chocolate chip pancakes and stuffed animals. And here in this garden, Elena Morgan sat in the sunlight and let herself feel something she hadn't felt in years. Gratitude. Not for what she'd lost, not for the pain she'd endured, but for what she'd become because of it. She'd walked through fire and emerged as steel. She'd been broken apart and rebuilt herself stronger. She'd faced the worst a person could face and discovered she was capable of more than she'd ever imagined. That was the real victory, not the company, not the money, not the Forbes cover or the foundation or the trial that put Daniel away. The real victory was this moment, this peace, this unshakable knowledge that no matter what came next, she would handle it. Because she was Elena Morgan, and Elena Morgan didn't break. She rose. The afternoon sun warmed her face. The breeze carried the scent of roses. Inside, she could hear Lily starting to wake up, calling for her mama. Elena finished her coffee and walked back into her house. Back to her daughter. Back to her life. Back to the future she'd built with her own 2 hands. Behind her, the sun continued to rise over Chicago, over Hartwell Industries, over a city that had watched a woman fall and then watched her climb higher than anyone thought possible. And in that moment, Elena Morgan knew with absolute certainty that the best was yet to come. Not because life owed her anything, but because she'd earned it. Every tear, every fight, every sleepless night and impossible decision. She'd earned this peace, this joy, this life, and no one would ever take it from her again. Because betrayal doesn't define you. Your comeback does.